Welcome back, viewers. Hilly, there is a question. The question is that why there is a general perception that South Asian community generally they get scared facing you people. Why? Do you think it's right? It's correct?
Well, first, I like your term "you people" defined. I assume when you say "you people,"
You
you're talking about
the government
law enforcement
representative
community.
Yeah, government representatives.
All right. I don't think that that is unique to the South Asian community. I think that any group of people who are not generation after generation familiar with a culture, its government functions, how to get things done, what departments to go to, there's a bit of fear there, and it's justified because they don't know the process. They don't know how to get things done.
Okay.
They could be in need of having potholes repaired in their road. They could be in need of reporting a crime if they've been victimized. All sorts of things that government can help you with and solve problems. They're not sure how to access the answers. And I think that that occurs with every culture from time to time as they come into the United States. The longer generations accumulate, the easier it is for them to understand the process. In Fort Bend County, as you know, we have the most diverse, culturally, ethnically, population in the United States. And I think Judge Hebert would agree that we relish in that, we welcome that, we glorify in that. We're proud of that in Fort Bend County, to be a beacon where so many people can come and have a high quality of life. They're not scared to come to Fort Bend County to live or to send their children or to go to work. And we're very happy and we welcome people of all ethnicities and all backgrounds, just like the United States has always done. I will say that the best way to become a little bit less scared or a little bit less cautious about how to solve your problems is to talk to a community leader within the ethnic community, within the South Asian community, and to be put in contact with someone who already understands the process, regardless of what the problem or issue is, and knows how to get it taken care of and who to go to. And if you have these, let's call them spokespeople within the South Asian community who have a awareness already because of a relationship maybe with a commissioner or with the police chief or the police officers or with the people that run the library or with the district attorney's office, that the people who would like to have a problem solved should go to those emissaries and have them be spokespeople to the police chief, the county judge, the district attorney, the head librarian, whatever their issue is. And we have open doors in Fort Bend County. I make it a point to tell people I have an open door policy, which means that if you want to see me or talk to me, I will go out of my way to be there and to see you. I might be on vacation, so you'd have to call in advance to make sure that I'd be available to meet that day. But I'll meet with emissaries, spokespeople for many, many ethnic groups and to try and solve the problem. And I would say that after a time, we might not be able to make the person with the issue or the need happy, but at least they'll understand that we're trying and why we might not be able to solve the problem. But many times we can, we usually can.
Mr. Hebert, if it is so, or if anything like this exists, what do you think? Do you agree that the reason for this is, this fear is that there is a communication gap between the government representatives and the public and the community? And there's a need to, bridge this information gap?
With the general public, I believe you're right. I think a lot of folks with ethnic backgrounds different from the community in which they find themselves located in are somewhat intimidated by that. But what I find in Fort Bend County is the leadership in the Muslim community, in the Buddhist community, the Hindu community, the black community, they all know me and they know my commissioners and they intercede. So there are leaders in the community. But I draw from my own experience. My father worked for the railroad for 35 years. he only went through the 4th grade. He could read, write, and do math, but he never finished high school, never went to college, and he worked as a common laborer in the railroad. He was very successful at that, but he was intimidated himself, and he was uncomfortable when he was talking to police officers or elected politicians. He deferred to them. He didn't seek them out to solve problems. So I think a lot of it is both a function of language, it's a function of education, it's a function of perceived social status, and it will vary from family to family. But we'll find it all across the ethnicities in Fort Bend County. And I know I and my commissioners work very hard to go out and meet with folks in the community to let them know we're accessible. I spoke Friday to the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce has a leadership class that they do every year that's open to anyone who wants to sign up. And they had a diversity day, a program. The entire day was spent on diversity, and they asked me to speak and have lunch with the group. And there were 54 students, and they had arranged the seating. I got there just before, and I saw all these flags that looked like a United Nations meeting. And I said, "What's this?" And they said, "We want everybody to find their flag to have a seat." And there were 3 or 4 Texas flags, a couple Louisiana flags, and then all kinds of countries were represented. And as John said, that's a good thing, because that's the future of this of the nation, and we're going to be diversity is something. If you truly open yourself up to allow people to come and share in the American dream, you're going to end up with a diverse group, just like the Irish in the mid 1800s and the French in the early 1800s, and the Chinese that came in the late 1800s to work as laborers building the railways. Diversity has been growing since we became a country, and it will continue to grow. And it is, if we use it right and assimilate folks properly, it can be our greatest asset.
Well, that's fine. There is another perception. It's also a perception that there is a less representation of South Asian community, or especially Pakistani community, in the offices of district attorney or the county judge. So is it correct?
Well, I can tell you that I always accept the best qualified candidate for the position, and frequently that is a member of the South Asian community, either from Pakistan in origin, India or Bangladesh, and many other cultures are represented within my office. We have we have 50 prosecutors, and I could give you the exact number of Latino prosecutors, black prosecutors, Muslim prosecutors, and prosecutors from India who are of a Hindu religion, shall we say. And at any one time of the 50, we usually have 3 to 4 Muslim prosecutors and 2 to 3, sometimes 4, in times past, prosecutors from India.
That's right. Shahid Sahab, being active member of Muslim community, आपने कभी सोचा कि ये जो गैप है इंफॉर्मेशन का, कम्युनिकेशन गैप जो है, ये फिल हो सकता है, बट दोनों तरफ से? क्या हमारा भी कसूर है इसमें? क्या हमने भी खुद कोई कोशिश की है कि हम भी इन लोगों से मिलें और अपने कंसर्न्स बताएं और इनको करीब लाने की कोशिश करें? क्या ऐसा हुआ कभी?
Yes, this is a two-way traffic. Some of them our fault, and some of them is our fault. When I said twice this thing, it means that like a campaign is Mr. Haley's campaign going on, Mr. Abe's campaign going on. How many people is joining them? How many people offer them the help? How many people is going an extra mile to see what he can do? Not doing for them individually, actually is doing for the community or the county. So this is actually our fault that we are not involved, we don't offer anything, we don't go over, but we expect everything. So that's my point of view, and you know, in the community I'm very outspoken about that. Always say that go something, do something, and then you expect something. Don't expect everything and don't do it.
But this is also the responsibility of people like you, who are the elder of the community.
You know me, how much Farah know me, that how much I bang you folks and just do it and do it. And you know that every seminar and everything I invite this fine gentlemen, the four judges. Judge Emmett is a good, Harris County, good friend of mine, and come all the time. DA's come, Mr. Haley's come, Mr. Bob Evers. So community has to go over there to, like, for particularly when I was a voter registrar judge in a Fort Bend County in Harris County, I practically beg mostly people to become a voter, regardless who you are. At least you should be a voter, you can go vote. Half of them just don't want them, but when they got...
But there should be any awareness campaign
Yes,
to be
we
launched?
did. I did any restaurant in city of Houston, Fort Bend, I sit with this like a table and say, come on, let's go register, let's go register. Some they register, but then they don't go vote.
So, what is the reason behind this? How?
Again, same thing.
Why
like you said.
they show reluctance?
Negligence is reluctant to reason because first of all, like Mr. Haley was saying, they're not groomed in this system. They expect everything come. That's number one. Number two, like you say, Farah was asking the question a minute ago, they're why scared? No reason to be scared. They think if we go to be vote or if we go to be, we are just, it's no good. Just like because the culture they come from there, they do vote, they don't go vote, nothing happen. So they're still thinking in the same mentality, hey, if I go to vote for Bob, Judge or Mr. Haley, what is going to be? Oh, nothing is going to be same. And that mentality, you actually, now you the media, you are here, you help us out, we can change this carpet, and I'm go for it, this, anywhere you want seminar, these fine folks can come, or anybody you want, they can come and educate. And they let them know the fear of, like John said just a minute ago, there's no such thing as fear. You just need to communicate.
Right. When two or more than two cultures interact with each other, there is a process of assimilation of values. So, what do you think? Is there any need of accelerating this process here in America?
A need to accelerate the process?
Yeah, process of assimilation, mingling with each other.
Well, that's a very complex issue. It has always been the philosophy, the practice in America, that new cultures would come on in to the country and they would be assimilated. They would give to the existing culture that they found, which was made up of many different cultures, many of the fine customs, philosophies, foods, language, art, and such to the existing culture. But gradually they would feel very at home and comfortable in blending in or assimilating. And while ideally you have the culture that pre-existed their arrival, welcoming them, they don't lose their identity. I think it's terrible when a culture loses its language, a people lose their language to a culture they're
there are so many implications of this also.
Yes, because you sometimes lose your history and you lose your focus, your way of life. I think you can be a good Hindu American from India or Muslim America, let's say from Pakistan, and be, like I say, a good American, just like you could be a good French American with ancestors coming from France, being assimilated by the culture in the United States that existed at the time. One of the terrible tragedies of the United States is that the original culture, the culture of the Native American Indian, is one that we have pretty much, other than in a few states, we're unaware of. We don't know well enough that particular culture.
So this is a very big debate, but this is the time of break. We take a break, stay with us.